And gently release. And placing the belt off to the side, both knees into the chest. Closing the eyes and just giving yourself a gentle massage here as you just make a little gentle circle with the knees in each direction, and then even a little bit side to side. And then you can either roll to the side to sitting or gently rock to sitting. And we'll come back into the middle of the room to continue with some more forward bends. So from here we're going to come into some forward bends. And what I'd like you to do is elevate the buttocks. So to start with, if you can take a blanket, just fold it in half, so half the stack size, placing it behind you. And then from there, if you can come to sitting on the blanket, sitting pretty close to the edge of the blanket with the sit bones on the blanket. And then if we stretch the legs out in front into a posture known as Dandasana. So to start with, we want those legs nice and strong, active. If we think back into Tadasana with the ankle bones touching the base of the big toes, the feet dorsiflex, so the toes are turning back, we're pushing out through the heels, we're extending out and away through the inside balls of the feet. Now with the hands, if we place them in line with the hips, if you have long arms, you might like to take the hands a little bit further out to the side. If you have a long torso, you might need to cup the hands. But either way, press down onto the hands and lift the chest. So you might even like to take your right hand there, feel behind you that the lower back is arching in. Whatever it takes, even if you've got to sit on higher blankets, we want the lower back arching in, the chest to be lifting up, and the shoulders softening down the back. So keep lifting the chest and ever so slightly tilt the chin towards the chest. The word danda means rod. So we want the body, the torso, the legs straight like a rod. But a lot of action here, really feeling that lifting up, that drawing up. Even the pelvic floor muscles can be activated and lifting up. The abdomen, the navel, drawing in and lifting up. And as the chest is lifting up, just a slight tilt of the chin towards the chest. This starts to lead us into what's known as the bandhas, which we'll deal with in another day. Now from here we're going to come into some forward bends, but maintaining this integrity, this lift through the chest. We're going to Paschimottanasana. So let's use a strap to begin with. If you can take your strap. Now to get the strap around the feet, you might need to release the legs and just bend the knees, placing the strap around the balls of the feet. And then once more coming back into Dandasana, except that we're holding on to the strap. But at the same time, if you need to, draw back the flesh of the buttocks so you come forward on those sit bones, holding onto the strap, pull back against the feet with the strap and lift tall with the chest. Now if you're a little bit tight there in the legs, or if your lower back is a little sensitive or sore, just stay sitting up tall. But for the rest of us, we can start to walk the hands forward towards the feet. We want to avoid just collapsing, but rather look for that sense of lifting the chest forward. If you have quite long arms, you're a little bit more supple, we can hold on to the outer edges of the feet eventually. Looking for that action of the chest lifting, and if it feels quite safe for your lower back, eventually, Paschimottanasana, we can take the top of the head towards the big toe, chest to the thighs. Avoid straining, but rather just feeling that lengthening through the hamstrings. Till gradually the chest is resting onto the legs, keeping the shoulders relaxed. And for those staying upright, just coming forward slightly with the chest, while keeping the shoulders moving back and down. Paschimottanasana. There are different variations, for example, bending the knees slightly if you were feeling strain in the lower back. But eventually the legs dynamic, strong and straight. And then to release, inhale, looking forward, all of us. Exhale, release. Dandasana. And from Dandasana, we can bend the knees. And taking the knees to the side, heels in towards the groin. Still, you may find it very beneficial to stay sitting up onto a blanket. Baddha Konasana, the bound angle pose, or sometimes referred to as cobbler's pose. So interlocking the fingers, take them in front of the toes and lifting tall through the chest. And for most of us, we might like to just stay sitting up today as we take the knees down towards the floor. Or just like in Paschimottanasana, lifting through the chest, knees down, shoulders back and down from the ears. And if it honestly feels safe for you, begin to come forward. Now, in the early stages of coming forward, you can even use the elbows to press the knees to the floor. Or if you're a little more supple, you can actually slip the elbows in front of the legs, elbows to the floor. Or if you are a little more supple, take the arms out in front, so reaching forward with the hands. And eventually you might even find the forehead comes to the floor. Baddha Konasana. If you're feeling any pain in the knee, it'd be better to come up and put some folded blankets under the legs to protect the knees. Particularly good for the reproductive organs in both men and women. Very good for opening tight hips, groin. And then from there, all of us, inhale, looking forward. Exhale, begin to release. And once more, bringing the knees together. This next one's almost like bringing those last two postures together. So with the legs straight, which is good for the hamstrings. But from there, we're also going to take the legs out wide apart. So dorsiflexion through the feet, toes drawing back. Just position yourself so that you can feel comfortable where you are. Now, for those of us a little tight, if we just place the hands onto the floor, fingers pointing way behind, and stay tall, lifting through the chest. Dorsiflex the feet, keeping the inside edge of the foot 90 degrees to the floor. If you have any injuries there in the groin, just back off and come back into Paschimottanasana. Otherwise, lifting tall, dorsiflexing the feet a little more, keeping the quadriceps active, the top of the knees, centered top of the knees pointing straight up. If you're a little more supple, we could take the hands onto the floor in front. And then almost like we're grasping, taking hold of the floor and draw the chest up between the arms. So keeping the hands either behind, lifting the chest, or the hands in front, lifting the chest. Or if you're a little more supple, we can even walk the hands forward. Eventually, you might even like to rest the chest onto the floor. Or if you're a little tight, just resting the forehead to the floor. Upavista Konasana. Wide angle forward bend. All of us keeping those legs working strongly. Like we talked about in Supta Padangasthasana when we were at the wall before with our strap, working on these huge big muscles and joints. We do need to hold them a little bit longer to really get the benefits. So 5 to 8 breaths is an absolute minimum, but 10 to 15 breaths would be better. And then for those of us who came forward, inhale, looking forward. Exhale, if we can all walk the hands back in, reaching out underneath the knees, and then bending the knees, raising the knees, and bringing the feet together. Now, if you like, you can stay up on the blanket for this next one, a spinal twist. If you find it's more grounding for you to come off the blanket, then just place it off to the side. But by keeping the knees at approximately a 90-degree angle, if you have any problems with your knees, just straighten the left leg in front. Otherwise, all of us, we can take that left foot in under the right knee. We're coming into a spinal twist known as Ardha Matsyendrasana 3, or a variation of Ardha Matsyendrasana 3. Now, if that's comfortable, let's take that right foot up and over the left thigh. So we've got the right knee raised. If you'd like a gentle twist, so especially if you're pregnant or menstruating, or also if your back was a bit sore, you like a gentle practice, just turn to the left. So left hand behind, right elbow inside, right knee. But for those who like a stronger twist, take the right hand behind. So in line with the sacrum, right fingers pointing away, lean back onto the right hand, and then from there hook the left elbow over the right knee. Now sit firmly down into that right sit bone, lift up tall with the chest, inhale. Exhale, begin to turn, looking over the right shoulder. So as much as we can, that chest, inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. Really feeling that connection with the breath. Using the inhalation to find that inspiration, lifting, exhale, turning. So the inhalation, we find our inspiration, the exhalation, the surrender. Then looking back to the front inhale, exhale, release, hands to the floor behind, changing the legs to the opposite cross. And for those who'd like to do the open twist, it's right hand behind, left elbow on the inside of the left knee. But for the closed twist, place the left hand behind, and we place the right elbow onto the outside of the left knee. Sit firmly into the left sit bone, inhale, lift and open the chest, exhale and turn. This time looking over the left shoulder. So again, the left hip, keep the left hip down, inhale, lift a little more through the chest, inhale, exhale and turn. And just once more, inhale, lift tall, exhale, turning. Then looking back to the front, inhale, exhale, release to sitting. So that brings us actually to the end of our asana practice. What we're going to do now is we're going to come into some pranayama. So again, I'd like you to sit up on your folded blanket. If you like, you can even fold it again and make it a little bit higher so that we can really be comfortable to sit for a few minutes. So the asanas that we've been doing, the physical postures, are very good for opening the body, strengthening the body, but eventually so that we're able to sit, so that eventually we'll be able to sit and breathe properly. So what we're going to do now is a pranayama practice known as Nadi Shodhana. So Nadi Shodhana is alternate nostril breathing and particularly cleansing for the nadis. So if your nose is blocked, you won't be able to do that today. You'll just be able to sit and just visualize the practice like a meditation. If we begin by resting the back of the hands onto the knees, and by bringing together the tip of the thumb and the forefinger into a mudra known as Gyan Mudra, the mudra of knowledge. If it is more comfortable, you can have the palms down. And then from there, if you'd like to join me, we can bend the right elbow and place the first two fingers of the right hand to the eyebrow center. From there, very lightly, touching the right side of the nose with the thumb, the left side with the ring finger. Keeping good posture, the chest lifting, shoulders relaxing, breathing evenly through both sides of the nose. Now if we can coordinate our breath together, if we all just exhale, empty the lungs. And take a slow, normal inhalation both sides. And ever so gently close the left, exhale from the right. And the practice begins now. So inhale through the right. Then first open the left, close your right, exhale from the left. Pause. Inhale through the left. First open the right, then close the left, exhale from the right. Pause. That's the end of the first cycle. Second cycle, inhale right. Change, exhale left. Pause. Inhale through the left. Change, exhale right. So that finishes the second cycle. 2 breaths make 1 cycle. Continue in your own time. Inhale through the right. When you're ready, exhale left. Inhale through the left, exhale right. Just continuing in your own time. Not being forceful, just a normal sized breath. Ideally breathing into the bottom of the lungs, then the middle, then the top. But as you exhale, exhale from the top, then the middle, then the bottom. Maintaining good posture, chest lifting. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Head in the neutral position, looking forward. If you start to feel any tightness across the chest, or shortness of breath, or like a hardness forming behind the forehead, these are the indicators that it would be better to stop the practice. It would be better to stop the practice and return back to normal breath, even if necessary to lie down. When we first start this practice, always be practicing under the guidance of an experienced teacher. When we first start, even just 2 to 3 minutes is enough to begin with, and gradually over the weeks or months building to 5 minutes, over the years starting to build to 10 minutes. But pranayama, if there's any straining, is counterproductive, does more harm than good. The body should always remain calm, soft and relaxed, and only slightly active. Never aggressive. When we complete the practice, we'll finish by exhaling through the right nostril. So 1 more full cycle, and allow yourself to return to normal breath. Keeping the eyes closed, just releasing the right hand when you're ready into Gyan Mudra. Just stay sitting for another few minutes. So our practice these days comes from a tradition known as Ashtanga Yoga. Ashta being 8, Anga the limbs. So there being 8 limbs of yoga. The first 2 being a code of practice, a moral code of practice, the yamas and niyamas. The third limb being asana. So today we've been mostly focusing doing our asana practice, and just now doing the 4th limb. So the 3rd limb asana, the 4th limb pranayama. And now as we sit quietly, going into that 5th limb of yoga known as pratyahara. Withdrawal from the senses. So eventually the yogi explores the journey of exploration of the inner self. by withdrawing from the outer, withdrawing from the senses through pratyahara, so that eventually we can focus internally. The sixth limb of yoga, dharana. Starting to turn that focus or concentration, dharana being single-pointed focus or concentration, internally. Perhaps finding a point to focus on. So right now, let's just stay for another few cycles of breath, focusing as you inhale through the nose, feeling the coolness of the breath as it passes over the back of the throat. So that gradually it takes us to the practice of the seventh limb of yoga, dhyana, meditation. And through the continued practice of these limbs of yoga, that eventually we get a taste of the eighth limb of yoga, samadhi, the higher bliss state of yoga. And now, as much as possible, maintaining that inner quietness as you gently release, lying yourself down for Shavasana. So continuing this mood of quiet meditation.